Yo, what's good, everybody? It is your boy, Golden Falls, Golden What Ifs, whatever you want to call me. And I am back. This is a brand new Tanjiro What If. This is what if Tanjiro could use fire magic. And I was thinking about this idea. I was like, you know what? I might as well do something like this because, you know, the whole idea of the breathing styles not actually having, you know, elements attached to them and stuff like that. I always was like, that's kind of lame. I wish there was. Like, I wish there actually was elements and it wasn't just, you know, the animation. It's not actually there, obviously, for what most of us understand now. But at the same time, it would be awesome if that kind of was the case. So I decided to go a different direction and basically make it so Tanjiro could utilize fire magic. Now, with that said, I don't want to waste much more of your time and I want to get right into it. So, yeah, let's get it. Tanjiro Kamado, obviously early in his life, is starting to learn how to actually utilize this so-called fire magic. Now, obviously, there's some hurdles with learning how to use something so unique and so out there. So Tanjiro does struggle to a certain extent, trying to figure things out, right? Trying to really understand, try to figure out, try to break down all of this stuff that involves kind of this magical ability to basically utilize fire. So he's obviously like, okay, well, I don't really know how to use it, but I'm gonna learn it. And he basically learns it via like books and stuff like that. He doesn't learn it via like he's already super talented. He learns it via these books that his father actually left him that involve a lot of mythical arts type of things, right? Type of abilities and types of things that you can actually utilize. And he starts learning from a pretty young age after his father passes away about various different things. Like he's like, okay, let's figure things out. Let's talk about this, or like let's learn this, let's do this. And he starts kind of trying to figure out how to really utilize those little bits of fire magic. Now, does he know a ton? Like, does he know a ton? Of course not. Tanjiro doesn't really think about learning things at a super high rate when obviously he doesn't think, oh, I'm gonna go fight demons and stuff like that. So at that point, he's not really thinking about those things, but he's still learning it from time to time, trying to figure things out, and it's going to help him in definitely the near future. Now, after all that is kind of said and done, and after Tanjiro learns all these things, he would eventually go through, you know, the normal things that happen to Tanjiro. He goes to the village, sells some coal. Next night, or after the night, he would go home, and obviously he would find his family, you know, dusted, right, gone, and all that is left is Nezuko. He would try to get Nezuko out of there, and then obviously she would be a demon, attack him, and stuff like that. Now, this is when he would face off with Giyu, and this is the first time Tanjiro actually utilizes his fire magic in a like specific way. Now, he has little techniques that he's trying to figure out, but he does know how to like throw around fire. So when Giyu sees him legitimately throw around fire, like literally use fire at him, it's like he's like, whoa, this is okay. What is this? Like, this is crazy. I never thought someone would be able to do something like this. I mean, he's legitimately throwing fire at me. Like, this makes no sense at all. But at the same time, Giyu's like, well, this is something that we're gonna have to think about, and something that's gonna have to, like, you know, really be thought about in terms of what he's able to do, how he's able to do it, and stuff like that. And at the end of the day, this is something that Tanjiro shows. And, well, Giyu's like, well, this guy needs to be known. Like, we need to know who he is. We need to make sure that we have this guy in mind, because holy shit, like, this is ridiculous. Who would have thought he would have been able to literally throw around fire, create fire, you know, whatever you want to, like, call it, right? Like, who would have thought in their wildest dreams that he would meet somebody who can control an element? Now, obviously, to an extent, it's not that simple. Tanjiro isn't necessarily controlling an element. He's more like creating it via magic and through like spells and stuff like that. But at the same time, that's really what Giyu was seeing, is basically seeing him throw around fire, control fire, and stuff like that. So this would lead him to deciding like, okay, well, we need to get this guy trained. So he obviously sends him off to Urokodaki, where Urokodaki, is going to train him. Like that's what happens. He's gonna get trained by Urokodaki. He's gonna learn water breathing, and he's gonna train just as much as he did in the usual version of Demon Slayer. And then on top of that, he's obviously trying to learn various different things, like more about his fire magic and stuff like that. And Urokodaki basically makes it a pretty big point that during the day, and well, for a good chunk of the day, they're training, right? They're learning to be a demon slayer, stuff like that. But then on the outside of it, like, before he goes to sleep and stuff like that, he's studying. He's studying the book that has given him and granted him the ability to actually utilize fire magic and stuff like that. These are the things Tanjiro is doing on repeat over and over again. But Urokodaki tells him, like, don't rely on that magic. First, I want you to learn how to utilize that sword. Utilize, your sword and how powerful it is and stuff like that. And basically, like, up your game via a swordsman first. And then you could utilize the magic on the back end to make you even more powerful. And that's what Tanjiro does. Like, every encounter he has here initially is just regular training. So just how he normally would train. It just added on top of that a little bit of studying, right? And then toward the end, right, after he trains with Sabito and Makomo, or the spirits of them, he would then eventually, like, figure out different ways to kind of utilize this fire magic on top of his sword. And that right there alone makes it way stronger than normal. Makes it way stronger. So when he goes off to the final selection and he's, fully prepared and stuff like that, basically the same skill level he is at this point in the original timeline, he also has fire magic that he places upon his sword that makes it so demons, well, they're able to be sliced through a lot easier. And on top of that, I mean, the demons see this fire and it slows their regeneration down. It makes them feel like, they're overwhelmed by fire. And even Tanjiro's able to set them ablaze, like legitimately set them ablaze, by kind of throwing it a certain distance. And in doing this, it literally makes it so their regeneration is like nothing. Like, there is no real regeneration that they can maintain. And it becomes really difficult for them to kind of do anything. But this also is temporary, right? He's not like covering them in fire permanently or anything like that. He doesn't know how to do something like that right now. But he is kind of swinging his sword and it's throwing fire to a short distance. But overall, he has to still get in close and slice through the necks of the demons. But it is a lot easier than normal for him to slice through those necks with the kind of set ablaze type of sword that he's currently wielding. Now, after this whole final selection, he kills quite a bit, if not every single demon that is there. And obviously, he has a very, I wouldn't say easy time doing it, but he definitely has a very, like, easier time dealing with it. And that right there makes it so Tanjiro is far more prepared because of this magic, and also defeats and saves a lot of the demon slayers, or the future demon slayers, that originally would have died in this final selection, right? Like, in the final selection, originally a lot of them would have died, but with Tanjiro there and what he's capable of, they actually don't die. A lot of them do not die. So Tanjiro does save quite a few people here, and obviously leads him to defeating everybody within the final selection. And then eventually the final selection would be over. And this would lead us to him going back to Urokodaki after getting his Nichiren ore. And obviously getting his sword and going to his first mission, which would be against the Swamp Demon. Now, the Swamp Demon, he's going to have his issues against the Swamp Demon. And he's going to have his issues, in general, because it's not like he's much faster. It's not like he's much stronger or anything like that. But in terms of raw strength and power, he's going to have his benefits. Like, there are massive benefits to what Tanjiro is doing here because of the magic he holds. I mean, he's even burning these demons to the point where it kind of slows down not only their regeneration, but their ability to utilize blood demon arts and their various techniques and abilities as well. And with the help of Nezuko, I mean, genuinely, it makes things quite a bit easier. But in terms of, like I said, speed and stuff like that, it's not like he's crazy fast or something along those lines. He's more of like he's got a lot of hacks, you could say. He definitely has a lot of different hacks like that. And this fight goes very similar to normal with the defeat of the Swamp Demon. And he does, save that girl that is within the Swamp Demon's, area. And eventually it would lead him to heading off and going to the city that never sleeps. So when he gets there, obviously he's looking for the demon or looking for any demon that is coinciding with it, or this area that is fully lit up and fully all this stuff. But then when he gets there, he realizes, oh, this smell is different. And he realizes, like, holy, I know who this is. I know exactly who this is. This is Muzan. And in doing this, he's like, no, this can't be. Like, I can't believe it. I don't know if I can really, like, believe this. Like, no way this is Muzan. But yeah, it's Muzan. And that right there would shock him, because he's thinking, this doesn't make sense, right? Like, I can't believe this is Muzan. It doesn't make sense that it's Muzan. But also, anger would be flowing through him to the point where he's thinking, I want to take this guy out. Like, I want this guy gone. And these are the things he's thinking. He's like, I'm going to take this guy out. I'm going to eliminate him. I'm going to do whatever I have to do to get him completely out of here. And I'm going to make sure that, like, he just dies. I'm going to make sure that that's exactly what happens. And obviously, Tanjiro, he realizes, well, I can't really, just go out and fight this guy, right? I can't go out and, like, try to, defeat this guy right now, because guess what? There's a lot of people all around. There's a lot of people out there that could potentially and legitimately die if I go and try to fight this guy. And at the end of the day, the realization for Tanjiro is, he may not be strong enough. He genuinely might not be strong enough to take out Muzan, and he might not be strong enough to, like, actually defeat this guy. So he's got to be thinking about, like, okay, well, if I can't take this guy out, then, well, maybe I should not put myself in a situation that's going to get me killed. And that's exactly what he does, right? He's like, all right, I'm not going to do this. Like, I'm not going to go and get myself killed. So he doesn't get himself killed. Like, that's, of course, a good thing. He doesn't want to get himself killed, of course. But at the same time, he is pissed. Like, he wanted to fight him. He wanted to get rid of him. He wanted to, like, end him. I mean, this is someone that he despises. This is somebody who he hates. Like, just being real, like, that is what he's thinking about right now. But at the same time, he now understands, though, like, there's certain things he can't do. There's certain things that he can't really, push himself to do. So obviously Muzan does his thing, turns a demon into, like, or turns somebody into a demon, and he gets away. And this is when Tanjiro would meet Lere Tamayao and would talk about curing Nezuko and stuff like that. And Tanjiro would kind of speak about various things about what, like, he believes could help, what could work, and blah blah blah. But all this kind of this whole circumstance goes very similar, except for the fight with Susumaru and Yahaba, where Tanjiro is able to actually see some of the attacks that are being sent his way, or the arrows that are being sent his way, because of his kind of his affinity with magic. So that allows him to see these things, and it helps him in this fight. And when he gets, like, kind of a hit on one of them, burning them pretty badly, it makes it so the fight is a lot easier and a lot, simpler, because he's able to slow down their regeneration and, frankly, slow them down as well. Like, legitimately slow them down. So at the end of the day, he's able to get the job done. He's able to do this. And I mean, I'm sure they're thinking, like, oh, this is not good at all. Like, we have to be really careful here, because this guy is no joke. Like, he is far from a joke. Like, he's not a joke. And they're trying their best to, like, keep up or do this or do that. But it's pretty obvious that Tanjiro and everybody else, like, they have a whole, like, team, basically, right? You have Tanjiro, Nezuko, Tamayao, and Yushiro fighting alongside everybody here. I mean, it makes things a lot simpler, especially with Tanjiro's ability to kind of slow them down, slow the regeneration down with his fire magic and abilities as well. But he does know, like, his abilities utilizing this fire magic could be even more insane. Like, frankly, there are other kind of techniques that he could be learning, and he tries to learn as he's like going through different different places and as he's traveling and stuff like that. But he doesn't have that much time to really learn everything. He doesn't have a ton of time to learn every single aspect, but he does know that it will help with the defeat of the demons and will help with actually curing his sister, and he truly believes that. And Lady Tamaya believes that as well, believing that the magic he holds is different. It's not just fire, right? It's so much more than just fire magic. This magic might be the true key to curing his sister. Now, obviously, they don't know that for sure right now. And Lady Tamaya believes that they need the blood of the 12 Kizuki to really get this thing going. So Tanjiro goes out and starts going on more missions that he obviously would go on normally. And he would meet up for the first time with Zenitsu. And obviously Zenitsu is going through his whole Zenitsu thing. And they would head to a nearby mansion to save these little kids, little kid's brother, right? So this is when they would enter the mansion and Tanjiro would get split up from Zenitsu and he would encounter Kyogai. And that would be the first somewhat challenge that Tanjiro would actually go through. Everyone else's is a pretty straightforward fight and a little bit easier to hit. And when he does hit them, well, let's just say it becomes a lot easier because of his fire magic. But with Kyogai, I mean, he's very hard to hit, very hard to get close to, and very hard to like get even near. So when he tries to, Tanjiro is really running out of steam, right? And he has to go through like absolute hell to get to Kyogai. But once he gets close to him, once he gets close and closes that distance, well, it's basically over. Tanjiro would even distract him with a burst of fire, making it so that smoke would come up and it's hard to see. And Tanjiro would find his way to the neck of Kyogai, eliminating him and getting his blood, being that he is a former member of the 12 Kizuki, believing that this right here was a perfect moment for him and for Nezuko to try to get more information and also more blood of a 12 Kizuki, so that hopefully they could actually save his little sister. Now, there's no guarantees and we all know that, but he believes that this is a really good step to do so. But now he heads outside after like the demon is defeated, and he sees Nezuko getting absolutely beaten senseless by a kid that he saw actually a little bit earlier, a kid in a boar mask, and this guy's name is Inosuke. Now, Inosuke is just smacking around Zenitsu and stuff like that, and Tanjiro immediately comes to his defense, realizing that Zenitsu's actually defending Nezuko's box, and he's like, yeah, I'm not gonna let you just beat up on this guy. Like, heck no, you're crazy. So he steps in, he immediately is like trying to help out, and they even end up fighting, and Tanjiro ends up being like, you know what, screw this, and he straight up lights him on fire, like just bang. And Inosuke is like, what the hell, like what's going on, like, and he starts panicking. He's like, what's happening? And he starts trying to like get the fire off of him and stuff like that. But Tanjiro's like, nah, screw you. Like, I'm just going to light you on fire. I mean, you want to be like this? You want to be like, you want to be kind of a rude person? You'll be messed up and all this other stuff. And he's like, I'm going to handle it where I need to handle it. And there you go, right? And immediately is like, boom. He's able to kind of stop Inosuke from kind of doing what he was doing, being like an absolute idiot, fighting and kind of trying to do things that are like out of the ordinary, which is like, dude, like calm down, like what are we doing, like chill out. So luckily enough, they're able to kind of calm him down and get him to like hang out and chill. So luckily enough, they're able to come together as a trio now and kind of push forward to now kind of do their own thing and push forward to kind of start pushing on to their next kind of objective after what just ensued. Now, they would get a bit of a downtime, right? Before Mount Natagumo, they would get a little bit of a downtime. Excuse me. And Tanjiro would use this downtime to just study. Like, he's trying to figure things out, trying to figure out this magic. And funny enough, Inosuke is like watching this like a hawk. Like, he's like, I want to learn this stuff. He's thinking about it. He's looking at it, and he's trying to he's trying to like copy Tanjiro. Now, he's not really able to. Like, it's very difficult, and Tanjiro's been doing this for a while, but he still tries, and it's kind of like a comedic thing where he's like messing around trying to freaking do it, but he can't do it, and he's like freaking out about it. But still, he's trying to do it, and Tanjiro's like, okay, like, this guy's funny. Like, he doesn't mean anything like bad, right? Like, he's just a little, you know, a little bit cuckoo, right? It feels like sometimes, but at the same time, he knows, hey, all right, it's okay. Like, we'll figure it out overall. So Tanjiro kind of does his thing, figures his way through things, and eventually, after that day of kind of a rest and stuff like that, they would head out to Mount Natagumo to try to help out where they can. Now, this is where Tanjiro actually has a pretty decent effect on what is occurring. Now, all the like webs and stuff like that, the spider webs and stuff, Tanjiro's actually able to set them on fire and kind of burn them away. So it actually gets a lot of these demon slayers that are captured out of harm's way. And a lot of these like fights and stuff, like, well, the mother spider doll like kind of fight, that never happens because there's no strings attached or anything like that. And eventually the fire would even get to the mother spider demon, being that legitimately he has fire just trickling on them and like progressing through all the strings. And eventually the fire would calm down as he would defeat that demon, and he also doesn't want the fire to just burn up the entire forest. That's probably not very heroic and very good. Now, this is when the fight, actually changes with the father spider demon, being that Tanjiro and Inosuke, they actually fight a little bit here together. And when the father spider demon would get like lit on fire, he would actually have his skin be a lot softer than normal, allowing Inosuke to even saw his neck off, allowing the defeat of this kind of demon before even Giyu would come in and swoop in and defeat him. And Tanjiro and Inosuke would have it handled. But then Inosuke and Tanjiro now would actually face off with Rui together. Now, obviously, you would have Nezuko too, being that Nezuko is going to be pretty helpful in this as well. But Tanjiro's ability to light both of their swords on fire, by the way, Inosuke and Tanjiro's swords now being on fire, and kind of Tanjiro being able to control the flames and stuff like that, gives them a pretty insane upper hand. And he's starting to realize that him as a demon slayer, yes, he can be strong, he can be powerful, but he might just be a really solid support type of demon slayer. And he realizes this because he can literally give them a fiery sword that is very, very, very strong against demons. And on top of that, he might be able to just take his time. Instead of training as a demon slayer, he can train mostly as a like sorcerer, basically, in which this right here would change Tanjiro's full perspective on what he's doing, at least for that moment. That's until he starts using the Hinokami Kagura, because that's when he starts understanding that he's supposed to be both. And that's when Inosuke and Tanjiro are able to overwhelm Rui. The strings that he creates, his blood demon art, all that stuff would burn up so quick, especially with Nezuko unlocking her blood demon arts, leading to Rui being defeated by both of them pretty easily. But they defeat him just as Giyu would arrive, and Giyu would be standing there like, whoa, okay, that's impressive. Like, I'm impressed. And he tells them like, good job. And that's really it. Like, he's like, oh, good job. Like, he doesn't really express his feelings, right? You can say. So he's kind of like, yeah, good job, man. You guys did good. And that's all he would really say. But overall, I mean, they would know like, yeah, we did a really good job. And frankly, we have like unlimited potential here to do even better. Now, with this defeat though, they do hear that Shinobu and Kanao and other demon slayers are actually after Nezuko. But of course, Tanjiro would do everything in his power to protect her, but he would still lose somewhat in a fight to Kanao, and they would get taken away to the Butterfly Mansion, where he would be questioned. They would be trial, or he would be trial. They would do the whole Nezuko thing, and eventually they would decide like, okay, well, Ubuyashiki would decide that Tanjiro is allowed to have Nezuko, and if anything goes wrong, then they will lose their lives, whatever, blah blah blah, right? all that stuff that happens. Now, after all that is done, though, the conversations about what Tanjiro is going to do start really coming about. Because, yes, he is still training as a Demon Slayer, giving it his absolute all, training as hard as possible. But he starts really diving into his magic, learning more, figuring out more, believing that these things are really important. Because there's certain techniques that he is learning that he knows will be extremely beneficial and will be extremely helpful in the long run. And that will come to fruition before you know it. But still, he trains hard. Like, he trains just as much as he did in the original, but he would still be studying at night, still be trying to figure things out. And he has a good amount of time to do so. And this is where he starts really showing his true colors and what he's truly capable of. Because he would eventually go see the Flame Hashira known as Rengoku, being that he wants to learn more about sun breathing. But when he does this, obviously they come across a new demon, a train demon, aka in the Mugen Train, being that of Enmu. Now, Enmu isn't necessarily the most difficult person to deal with, like, to defeat. But when Tanjiro gets out of the whole dreamlike state, he does go through a little bit of struggle. But luckily enough, he could use his own fire magic to kind of wake him up and keep him in reality. And eventually, when he gets to Enmu, he's able to make his neck a lot easier to slice through for an eventual Inosuke, who's going to actually end this fight of Enmu with the help of Tanjiro, obviously. But with the defeat of Enmu, the train would crash to the side, and this would feel like the end of this mission, but it's not. Because Akaza would appear, and the fight with Rengoku would go very similar as it did before. But the only difference is the very end of it. Because when Rengoku and Akaza are on their last legs, and Rengoku gets a hand punched through his chest or his stomach, well, Tanjiro would begin doing something. He would put both of his hands out, and he would engulf both of them in a fiery aura. And as he does this, Akaza can feel his skin melting off. He's like, what is happening? It feels like it's boiling. It feels like his skin is so thin. There is no defense on his skin anymore. And Rengoku feels a strength, a power rush through his body, and he goes to slice the neck off of Akaza. And Akaza would pull his hand out and try to get away. As he would push backwards trying to get through the fire, he would get lit ablaze, ignited instantly. And he would get out, but Rengoku would still be on the hunt, taking the fiery aura with him and immediately going towards Akaza. Akaza is still burning and still trying to run and slow down. Regeneration is slowed down as well, and he doesn't know what to do. He's at a loss for words. He doesn't know what's happening, and he also wasn't expecting, someone being able to do this. How were they able to do this? This doesn't even make sense. But eventually, Rengoku would get to him one more time, slicing almost through the neck of Akaza as he would burn up even more. And Akaza would be still trying to get away, slowed down insanely. But immediately, Tanjiro would tell Rengoku to slice his legs now, because this will be their chance when his regeneration isn't available. So that's what he does, slicing through Akaza's legs, trying to make it so his movement is basically nothing. And when the sun starts rising up, Tanjiro does everything to slow him down. Every little ounce of magic he has, Tanjiro is giving it his absolute all. He's focused so heavily on everything. And eventually the sun would come up, and out of nowhere, Akaza would feel this sensation of pain and hurting and just distraught at the fact that he really lost to a Hashira and a loser like Tanjiro. But Tanjiro would engulf him in flames as the sun would rise, and as the fire would become even stronger, Tanjiro would consume it in a way and would make it so it explodes, and Akaza would poof off into ash and dust. And immediately Rengoku walks over towards Tanjiro and gives him a hug and is like, I don't know how we would have done that without you, because frankly, I don't understand how I'm still living. I don't understand how I'm still alive. And Tanjiro, well, he basically says that he healed him. He healed him with the fire, but that took everything out of him, like to the point where he might need to get caught. Which immediately Rengoku was like, what are you talking about? And he would immediately collapse. Like Tanjiro would pass out, Rengoku would catch him, and they would be thinking, okay, we need to get him back to the Butterfly Mansion, because whatever he did took everything out of Tanjiro, and Tanjiro would be out for days. Like, would genuinely be out for days. So he's kind of trying to get his energy back, get his, like, you know, his ability to like move back once again. But during this time when he's out cold, or well, when he's out of commission, really more specifically, after he's able to actually, you know, do things, he starts reading his spells again, or his magic again, trying to figure things out. And Rengoku would actually speak with the other Hashira, or some of them, talking about how Tanjiro's ability to affect the battlefield goes beyond him wielding a sword, and that's what he should be focusing on. And really and truly, that's what he should be working on 24/7. And that right there kind of opens the eyes of so many of them. And that's the decision that ends up happening. So Tanjiro doesn't go on like a mission to the entertainment district arc, right? Or like the entertainment district. But he does light their swords kind of with this fiery kind of primordial fire, you could even call it, right? And he would just grab their swords and he would make it so that fire sticks with it. This mythical or magical fire that is pumping through the steel, or pumping through the Nichiren ore, or the like Nichiren steel. That is what's been given to everybody, and or at least the people that are going on certain missions. And he does this, and it makes things. And he started initially with like these lower tier demon slayers, but it makes it even greater. Like these lower tier demon slayers are actually able to fight like demons that are somewhat like strong, and they're able to actually take them down. Normally they'd be useless, they'd be scared to fight, but Tanjiro this time around helps them otherwise, helping them actually be useful. And he does this with Zenitsu and Inosuke, and granting them this, and Tengen as well, which he initially refused, but Rengoku basically told him like, no, like you can't refuse this is important, which Tanjiro does just that. And he would push them to the entertainment district, and eventually they would hear the crows talk, and the crows would end up saying that Daki, or one of the upper moons, have been defeated, in which 2 upper moons defeated in a short timeline is a massive thing, and something that is mind-boggling for everybody. And this is where they realize Tanjiro's focus on magical like fire abilities is something that he needs to do, right? Something he really needs to focus on. But Tanjiro does say like, I want to train, I want to push myself, I want to do this. So yes, they would get that opportunity, or he would get that opportunity as well, believing that he could still learn more magical abilities over at the Swordsmith's village, but also kind of get a good amount of training in as well, being that he still wants to be capable. And that's what he does. He trains with Mitsuri, even kind of inflames her sword, which like that's like a thing he does, right? With Genya, Genya initially is like refusing, but he does like, he uses his bullets and does that, which makes him even stronger. And then same thing with Muchiro, which he's also like super like, nah, I'm not gonna let you do that. But Tanjiro's like, no, like you don't get it. Like this is an advantage that we will not be giving up, an advantage that you need to understand will be beneficial no matter what. So you might as well do it, right? So that's exactly what they do. But Tanjiro also gets training with the Yoriichi Type 0, and also gets training with other people as well. But this training, yeah, would help him learn more about sun breathing and do this. But he's, I would say, a little bit behind the 8 ball in terms of where his strength normally was. But it does help that he has these mythical or magical abilities that allow him to, you know, heal people, constrict people, have this like enchantment on people's swords and stuff like that. But other than that, he isn't at the same capabilities. But luckily enough, during this kind of portion of him being at the Swordsmith's village, this is the first time he is pushed by a single demon to an extent where he has to truly push himself beyond the imagination, and it even awakens his Demon Slayer mark, and in doing so would give the opportunity for anyone else to also unlock this Demon Slayer mark, right? And in doing this, right, it does even the battlefield a little bit against Hantengu, but mainly he's utilizing this fire ability to really take down a Hantengu, or his fire kind of magic to take down Hantengu, because someone like Genya, someone that's like, you know, on the weaker side and doesn't have the ability to actually utilize a breathing style, he's utilizing a gun, right? Hey, this is perfect for him because he shoots him and it has a ridiculous effect because of the enchantment of fire that is within the bullets, right? And that makes him even stronger, way stronger than normal. And he hates to admit it, but without Tanjiro, this fight would have been 10 times harder because he wouldn't have been useful, at least not useful to the extent that he wants to be. And same thing with Mitsuri, who's very strong in her own right. Don't get me wrong, like, she's very capable, but it makes her even stronger to have Tanjiro's enchantment, and Hantengu and Gyoko would be defeated, and let's just say Mushiro wouldn't be too happy because he'd be like, dude, I could have done this by myself, I didn't need his enchantment and stuff like that. But at the same time, Tanjiro does not care. He believes that this is all beneficial and this is what needed to happen. And obviously, this is exactly what would ensue. And towards the end of the fights, or toward the end of the, you know, when the sun would be rising, the same thing would happen where Nezuko would conquer the sun and Muzan would come hunting for her. This would push all the Demon Slayers in the Hashira to training as hard as possible. Tanjiro training every aspect. We're talking his fighting, but also his magic as much as possible. And eventually, they would all be ready for a fight with Muzan and in the Infinity Castle. But with Akaza already down, then I would definitely have Tanjiro facing off with Doma as well, so that they can have their massive benefit against somebody who utilizes ice-like moves. And when Tanjiro's there, he could overwhelm him with that fire magic, and frankly make the poison that Shinobu would eventually seep within his body a lot stronger, like a lot more powerful. Now, with that said, this fight with Doma would go a lot easier and a lot more in their favor. And with every single person with the enchantment of fire on, or like with Tanjiro, or from Tanjiro, excuse me, it makes their fights a lot more capable and a lot more straightforward than they would be in the first place. But the people that didn't have as much trouble, like Zenitsu, yes, he did have trouble, but he like was able to handle it one-on-one. I mean, he wouldn't necessarily need the fire enchantment, because he easily like would still be able to defeat him because he's still as strong, if not stronger. But Zenitsu would still get that extra push and that extra help, and this would eventually lead them to actually fighting against Muzan. Now, with everybody having a fire enchanted sword, like legitimately that's what it is, right? A fire enchanted sword. And on top of that, Tanjiro pushing his boundaries of sun breathing, and then eventually entrapping Muzan within kind of like a flame construct, a spirit flame construct in a way, like a construction around. He's able to slow down Muzan and make it so that he literally can't move. And as hours would go by, and eventually when the sun would rise, Tanjiro would have every bit of magic, every bit of an enchantment on Muzan, making him just stay still and burn up with the sun. And as this is happening, the flames that Tanjiro is utilizing would begin to burn brighter and would begin to burn a blue color. And as this is happening, he realizes that this is his awakened state, right? His Demon Slayer mark has awakened his magical abilities even further. His blue fire, it's like a blue sunfire flame. And as this is happening, it is bursting Muzan with even more of like the sun's rays, burning him up quicker than normal. And Muzan would look towards Tanjiro as his body would crumble, burn, and shatter into dust and ash. When he looks towards Tanjiro, he would fall to the ground and would be defeated. And Tanjiro Kamado, well, he would look towards Muzan and realize that he just got vengeance for his family, and on the words of himself, he also saved his sister. Everything that could have went right, and it was all because of, well, he looks at it like it's all because of his father. What he showed him, what he granted him, the ability to utilize sun breathing, and on top of that, the ability to actually learn the art of the mythical flame. That's something that he will never forget, never underestimate. And frankly, this is something he will always remember, because at the end of the day, he and many others, right? Tanjiro and many others were a big part about truly bringing peace to the world that is in front of them and to the world that they are standing in as of right now. But that is the end of this video. The end of what if Tanjiro could use fire magic. And if you enjoyed, show some love, leave a like, leave a sub, leave a comment down below. Now, I want to say this, not on the YouTube comments, but I did see this on the Spotify. So if you're watching this on Spotify, I do apologize. There is spoilers. Like, I mean, I don't really think about saying it, because this is something that we've done quite a bit, where I've said on multiple videos that I'm going to start going through the entire manga. I'm really sorry if you're watching this video at the end and you're like, you just spoiled so much for me. My apologies. I really am sorry about that. But these videos will be through the manga. My fault. I did see somebody's comment that. I don't remember exactly who it was. I saw it in passing. I'm really sorry about that. But yeah, we are going through the manga, and this is something people wanted for a very long time. So I didn't think about saying, oh, spoilers ahead or anything like that. And frankly, I probably won't say that. It's just kind of what these videos are. It's going through the entirety of Demon Slayer. But with that said, I hope you guys still enjoyed, and I hope y'all have an amazing day. Later.